Sometimes people think you've said something when you didn't, and that says more about them than it says about you. An example, I was working at this church once, and I'd been hired to work with a certain demographic that the church used to do very well, but in the last few decades had really shit the bed on. So I came up with a bunch of ideas about things that the church could do over time to start meeting the needs of the people in our, area of the city. Basic community organizing stuff, nothing amazing. Of course, it's the church, so anyone having any sort of vision, people think it's really impressive. So I showed some ideas to the church's office admin person, and she was like, "Oh, you need to tell Roxanne about this because while you don't report to her directly, she's on the board and she's very influential, and you want to make sure that she knows what to expect so she doesn't think that you're trying to step on her toes." So I said, "Okay, I'll take your advice." And I phoned up Roxanne and asked her if we could have a meeting. And we did. During the meeting, she was a bit standoffish, but I did my best to be charming and open. And near the end, she turns to me and says, "Well, this all sounds good, but I don't see why you wanted to meet with me." And I said something to the effect of, "Well, it may affect some of the things that your committee works with, but really, I just spoke with our office admin person and she thought that you'd be a good person to talk to about it because, you're..." And then the words "on the board" vanished from my brain. And so I said, "You know?" And she nodded as if she knew what I meant. So the next day, I get a call from the senior minister, furious with me because she just got off the phone with Roxanne and can't believe that I called her a bitch. I was like, "What do you mean I called her a bitch? She's on the board. That would be crazy." So she was like, "Well, you better work it out with her because she was very emphatic that that's what you called her." So I hung up and I phoned Roxanne and I was like, "Why are you telling people that I called you that when I thought we had a nice meeting?" And she was like, "Well, at the end of the meeting, you were like, you know what I mean." And I was like, "Yeah, I meant that you were on the board. You're on the board of the church that I work for. I was trying to make sure that people on the board knew what I was doing." All that to say, remember, kids, most people are going to assume you're a pretty okay person until you show them that you're not.